I have no words. I'm just absolutely speechless by this news. And I know I've done that, but I've said that before with other times that other people, other celebrities like Robin Williams and Wes Craven have passed on, but it just never, and never, there never really are any words to describe the loss or the pain. I mean, I don't really know. I never knew Bill personally. I never knew Bill Paxton personally, just like I never knew Robin Williams personally or Wes Craven personally. But just like Wes and just like Robin, I felt that Bill, in a sense, I grew up with him. I grew up with his films. I grew up with the Aliens, Hudson. I grew up with Twister before I was even allowed to even watch Aliens. I grew up with Twister. And then I discovered films later on that he was in, like Near Dark. And I always thought that Bill Paxton was a very underrated and underappreciated actor. And I still feel that way, and I always will. And he will live on. He will never truly die. The game will never really truly be over because he'll live on in our hearts, in our memories. But that doesn't make this death any less shitty. Shocking is a perfect word for it. Just devastating and very devastating for his family and his friends. My heart goes out to them, and my best wishes and hopes and prayers go out to them in their time of need. In this time of need right now, they need it because this is a big loss. Not only for the entertainment community, not only for his fans, but for his family, for his two sons, for his wife. So I'm going to do, though, what I've always done, what I try to do when tragedy like this strikes. And I try to celebrate the man's life, or if I did a tribute to a female actress, I try to celebrate their life. I try to celebrate their work. My own sort of way of coping with things, and also just a way for me personally to give back, sort of my tribute to them, and I'm gonna do that for Bill because there's just so many films I grew up watching with him in them. Apollo 13, films like Predator 2, Weird Science. Anyway, so I'm gonna look at his filmography here, and damn, I mean, fucking sucks that he's gone. Sucks that when anyone dies, especially like this. And it hurts even more because I had, I didn't know my my uncle Mike that well. We weren't really close or anything, but it was still a member of my family that passed away due to complications after surgery. So, when you find out that one of my favorite actors, Bill Paxton, who's in a lot of ways still in his prime, 61 years old, he dies young too, just like my uncle did. It's just, it sucks. Death always sucks. But it just hits a bit close to home because I already dealt with a death like that. I've already dealt with stress that's going on with my stepdad, who had another episode, but he's back to normal, and thank God for that. But it's just this kind of stuff that it's always a bummer. It's always one big bummer. So anyway, I'm gonna look through his filmography. I'm gonna give some brief thoughts on some of the films that he was in that I have seen. I can't really say anything about the films that he was in that I haven't seen. But he was always one of those consistent actors to me. Even if a film I didn't like, I always thought he delivered a good performance. Much like someone like Peter Weller or Jeff Fahey or Brad Dourif. That type of underappreciated, underrated actor. Or Michael Keaton. So he was an uncredited cameo role in 1975 in a film called Crazy Mama as a character named John. He was credited as a soldier in Stripes, but he was just there because his girlfriend was in the movie. I think his girlfriend at the time was PJ Souls, and he showed up in one frame, so they had to credit him. Uh, it's not really a role or anything. He was in Night Warning as Eddie. I've always wanted to see that film. I've heard about it. I know it was also known as Butcher Baker Nightmare Maker. Um, he was in the film as Eddie under the name William Paxton. Seems like it might have been like his first big role was in Night Warning. He was in a film called Taking Tiger Mountain as Billy Hampton. He was in The Lords of Discipline as a character named Gilbreth. I've heard about the film. I've just never seen it. In 1983, and also in 1983, he was in a film called Mortuary, which I've heard of. I remember the trailer for it. I thought it was pretty well done trailer, but I haven't seen the film. He was in Streets of Fire. I love that film. I completely forgot that he was in the movie. He played Clyde the bartender. I'm just definitely going to keep an eye out for him when I watch Streets of Fire again. He was in a film called Impulse, which I just picked up today. Actually, I mean recently. I picked this film up recently on DVD from a Facebook group. And that's what's so crazy about this is I just recently bought some movies that Bill Paxton was in. Impulse and Monolith with Louis Gossett Jr. and Lindsay Frost and John Hurt. And John Hurt, who also passed away this year or sometime last year, if I remember correctly. I mean, that's crazy. That's kind of eerie, actually, that I got Monolith in the mail yesterday, and then I find out that Bill had passed on this morning. That's a film where John Hurt and Bill Paxton are in the cast. And may both of them rest in peace. I don't want this to, be like, oh, it's just, I only care about Bill Paxton when people like him pass away or stuff like that. I mean, may anyone who has ever died in this type of circumstance rest in peace, because that's just, it's awful. It's shitty. It's so horrible for the family, for the friends, and, it's, and for people like Bill in the public eye, it has this reverberation that's felt all across the world, because there are a lot of people who were not necessarily touched by his work, but definitely were impacted in a positive way. He was in The Terminator. He played a punk leader. He was one of the punk guys with the crazy hair that Arnold Schwarzenegger fucks up in the film. He was in Weird Science as Chet. You're stewed, but what? Probably one of my first introductions to Bill was watching The Terminator or Weird Science. Definitely Weird Science. Apparently he was in Commando as an intercept officer. I don't remember him being in Commando. It must have been like a brief role. Of course, he was in Aliens as Private William Hudson. Definitely a role that he will be remembered for. I love that character. I'm not going to look at the film the same way recently, though. I mean, because Hudson dies in the film, and then Bill's no longer with us, but at least Hudson put up a fight, which is, and it's just, it's tough. It's just tough thinking about it. I mean, I'm trying not to get choked up right now. I really am. So, yeah, I mean, of course, there's one memorable line after another. Game over, man, game over. They're animals, man. How can they cut the power? They're animals. So, yeah, that was probably, you might argue that was his breakout role, was in Aliens. And then he was in Near Dark as Severin and was great in that. Pass the Ammo, I haven't seen yet, but I'm curious about. Played a character named Jesse Wilkes. I have it on VHS. Slipstream, he was fine. I didn't really care for the movie Slipstream. I thought it was kind of was pretty boring, but he was fine. He wasn't a problem. Um, Next of Kin, I need to go see with Patrick Swayze, who also was passed on. He passed on a while back, but he's definitely missed. There's a day goes by that he's not missed, if you ask me. And Patrick Swayze is a very underrated actor, and from all accounts that I've heard, a good guy. I've heard a lot of good things about Bill as well. Something called Back to Back, which I've never seen. He was in Brain Dead with Bill Paxton. I mean, with Bill Pullman. See, I got confused between. I seem to always do that with that movie because they're both in it. The two Bills are in it, and see, I mean, I didn't mean for that to happen. It just happens every time I think about that movie. I go brain dead. I want to see that though. I haven't seen it yet. I have it on DVD. He was in The Last of the Finest as Hojo. It's Howard Jones with Brian Dennehy. I really liked that film. I thought it was very underrated. I recommend you check it out. Bill Paxton is great in it. He was in Navy SEALs as Dane, the sniper. I think it was the guy who had the nickname God. I'll definitely remember him for that because I grew up watching Navy SEALs. He was in Predator 2 as Jerry Lambert. He was awesome in that. Bill Paxton's only actor, one of the few actors who was killed by a Terminator and a Predator. And I know it's like he's passed on, but I mean, it's still pretty badass achievement to be in a part of both franchises. At least in Predator 2, he put up a fight. He was in The Dark Backward as a character named Gus. I have the film. I haven't seen it yet, but it's a very strange movie. He was also in The Vagrant as Graham Karkowski. I want to check that out. I've never seen the movie. I've heard some good things about it from my good friends, but I haven't seen the film yet. I'll definitely check it out because of Bill's recent passing. One False Move, I've heard a lot of great things about. I've heard his performance in it is one of his best. I will definitely be seeking that film out, and in fact, I know where I could probably get it on DVD for pretty cheap. I know exactly where it is. And we'll see if it's still there. If not, I'll definitely find some other way to watch it. Trespass, I wasn't the biggest fan of. Played a character named Vince, but he wasn't a problem. His performance wasn't bad or anything. I don't remember it being bad. Monolith, I haven't seen in a long time, and I remember it being okay, but I like Bill Paxton in it. Indian Summer, I haven't seen. Played a character named Jack. He was in Boxing Helena, which I've heard things about. It's like a crazy movie. Directed by Jennifer Lynch, David Lynch's daughter. He's played a character named Ray. He was in Tombstone. One of my favorite westerns of all time is Morgan Earp. He was really good in that. He was in True Lies. He played the car dealer, Simon, who Arnold thought was sleeping with his wife or wanted to sleep with his wife, and had that fun dream sequence where he beats the shit out of him. Frank and Jesse in 1994 as well, the same year as True Lies. He played Frank James. He was co-starred alongside Rob Lowe. I've heard of the film. I haven't seen it yet, but I do have it. I'm not really the biggest fan of westerns, but I like Tombstone and I like Young Guns, and I didn't mind the trailer for Frank and Jesse. It's got Bill Paxton, so I'll give it a watch sometime. Future Shock. He was in like one of the anthology segments in the sci-fi horror anthology film called Future Shock. I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard of it. I have it on VHS in Michigan somewhere in storage. The Last Supper. I saw the trailer for it. It looked kind of interesting. I might, definitely check that out sometime. Apollo 13, it's Fred Hayes. He was great in that. He was essentially the astronaut who replaced Gary Sinise's character because Gary Sinise got sick. Twister is Bill Harding. He actually got to be the lead. For all these years, like, he was the lead in One False Move and a few other sort of movies like The Vagrant and The Dark Backward, but for the most part, he was an ensemble guy. He never really got the opportunity to carry a film, and he gets that opportunity, and he knocks it out of the park with Twister. He does a fantastic job carrying the movie. It's probably my favorite film that he's the lead in, that's for sure. And one of my favorite films, period. And I will probably watch that tonight later in honor of Bill, because I just, he was great in that. And it's a great film, and it represents everything that made Bill a great actor to me. He's such an underrated actor. He's this blue collar type of guy. He's not a pretty boy. He's not super muscular, and that's fine because he has personality and charisma, and he's likable and he's relatable, and that's something that we're missing today. Is that type of actor in a lead role. He's not an underwear model. The Evening Star, he played Jerry Bruckner. I think that was a film that Shirley MacLaine was also in. I haven't seen that, though. He was in Traveler as a character named Baki. He was in Titanic as Brock. He was great in that. A Simple Plan as Hank. I've heard good things about that one. I've never seen it, though. He was in Mighty Joe Young as Professor O'Hara. I remember having a lot of fun with that movie. I would love to revisit that film again. He was in U-571. I've never seen that film, but I've heard about it. He was in Vertical Limit. I liked him in Vertical Limit. I actually don't mind the film. I thought he was good in that. He played Elliot. Frailty, where he played Dad Meeks. He was fantastic in that. It was a great performance. And he also directed the film. He directed and starred in the film. It was a very underrated, overlooked movie where Bill Paxton shone on multiple different levels, which really shows you how great of an actor he is, how great and how multifaceted he was, because he was not only capable of being a great actor, he was capable of being a great director too. He did not get enough credit for that. He's in Spy Kids 2 as Dinky Winks. Yeah, everyone has their roles that aren't necessarily the best. He was in Ghost of the Abyss. He was the narrator. I haven't seen the film, but I might give it a watch someday to hear Bill Paxton's narration. He's in a film called Resistance as Major Theodore Ted Bryce. He was in Spy Kids 3D as Dinky Winks again. He was in Club Dread as Coconut Pete. I think I saw bits and pieces of that on TV, but I haven't seen that film all the way through ever. Thunderbirds, not really a great film, but I don't remember his performance being bad. Haven as Carl Ridley. Magnificent Desolation, Walking the Moon, 3D, played a character named Edgar Mitchell. He was in a film called The Good Life. He was in Haywire, which I have on DVD, but I've heard really mixed things about. Shanghai Calling. He was in The Colony, which had a good idea, but the execution wasn't the best. But I don't remember Bill Paxton being terrible in it or anything. Two Guns I heard about, but I haven't seen. $1 Million Arm. I haven't seen that either, but I'm not really a big baseball fan, but might not be that bad. I'm just not really a big fan of baseball movies, unless it's like Major League or something. Or The Rookie with Dennis Quaid. That's another actor that ties in with Bill Paxton, this type of actor who is just very underrated. Dennis is right up there with Bill, in my opinion. Edge of Tomorrow, he played Sergeant Farrell. He was great in that. I know I keep using the same word, great, but I don't know what other word to say it. He was great. What do I need to say? He was stupendous. He was spectacular. He was amazing. Because he was. Very consistent actor, consistently good, consistently great. Always added something extra to every film that he was in. Nightcrawler, he played Joe Loader, one of the Nightcrawler guys in the news van. He was great. I liked him a lot in that. Film called Term Life. I haven't heard of. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen. as Detective Keenan. He was in a film called Mean Dreams. And then his final film, he played May's father in The Circle, which is a film that I am actually curious about. And to pay respects and honor Bill, I'm going to go see that in the theater. I'm going to go see The Circle in the theater. And just as my sort of send off, my last hurrah, so to speak, for Bill. And yeah, so if it sounds like I'm not really super energetic, I don't have a lot of energy, well, it's because it's depressing. It's rough. I mean, it's one thing to die because of an accident or you know, something like that, and that's kind of what happened here. But to die in surgery, I mean, or after surgery, it's just, these are supposed to be things that are supposed to save our lives, not take it away from us. It's just, no word can describe, you know, the loss enough. I mean, it's just, the world has lost a great guy, a great actor, a great friend for everyone that knew him personally, a great father for his kids, a great husband for his wife. And he was taken too soon. I mean, it's just, it's bullshit. It is. But like I said earlier, the game truly is not over. It's never over. Because Bill may be gone from this earth, but he's never going to be truly gone. I'll never forget him. I'll never forget his contributions to film, to the world of entertainment, and the little impact that he'd made on my life personally. I'll never forget that. I'll always have a special place in my heart, along with all of the other actors and directors and people who worked on film that have passed on. Always be alive in here. And in my memories. And in the memories of everyone who's watched and enjoyed the films that he was in. So, he may be gone, but Bill will definitely not be forgotten. So, yeah. Rest in peace, Bill. I'm gonna miss you.